Hey guys, Stefan Fischer here from All Off Road. I hope you guys are well. Today's video is a pretty exciting video because I'm very happy to share with you the walkthrough of my new Hilux play truck build. If you're keeping up with my channel, you know that the Hilux build has been in the making for nearly 3 years now. After my experience with the Jeep JK, which I built up to be a very capable play truck, I decided it was time for a change again. The JK was impressive, but it had a few ground clearance issues and I often sat on my belly panel. Not for nothing do most of the play Jeeps in the US run on 39-inch tires and upwards. In 2021 I had the chance to drive John John's Hilux on quite a few occasions, and I have to say I was thoroughly impressed at the Hilux as a base and a platform for a play truck. And while I have a little bit different building philosophy to John John's Hilux was really built to a budget, but he was a mechanic, he could fix everything himself. I really wanted to have a Hilux which is a bit more solid build and which would not need repairing. The Jeep at the time also owed me around 100k, and I thought it is a bit expensive for a play truck, so I started searching for a Hilux. And to be honest, it is not easy to actually find an extra cab Hilux 4x4. I was quite lucky because I came across a 1985 Y67 Hilux which just had been restored by its previous owner, who was a mechanic. So after inspecting the car, I purchased the car and I sold the Jeep. While if you look at the Hilux when I bought it, it looked already very capable and well built up, I knew I wanted a different build, and I really wanted a Hilux where the term unbreakable is somewhat justified. Obviously you can break everything, but I really wanted to get around the shortcomings of the Hilux and build a very capable and reliable play truck. I knew exactly who I wanted to build my Hilux, and that was Garth Hannaford. Garth is in the business of building cars for over 34 years, and in comparison to quite a few other people out there who build vehicles, he really understands the whole subject. He is not only a top-notch fabricator, he also does understand the geometry, the suspension, the steering, and really has a very holistic view of building a car. Also with Garth, can't do is not really in his vocabulary. As long as you have the budget, he will find a way around it. What was planned as a 6-month build extended to 2.5 years due to unforeseen circumstances. We had COVID, we had the Richmond floods, and Garth also had some family issues with his dad passing away. While it didn't turn out to be a more economical and cheaper version for a play truck, what Garth created is truly unique and impressive, and it's not something which has been seen in Australia, at least in a fully compliant and road legal build. And while we speak about compliancy, it was very, very important for me to have a fully compliant car. So from the outset, 2.5 years ago, we worked together with the engineer from the start to have this vehicle fully compliant and road legal in Australia. So engineering on its own was very complex and expensive, and I go a little bit into it during the video. Before I let Garth explain the details of the build, let's first have a look at a few impressions from the Hilux when I purchased it. Yeah, I'm here with Garth, who built that Hilux.
Stefan come to me with a plan. Originally it was a little bit more radical than what it is now, due to engineering and legalities with the laws that we have to abide by. So hence big mudguards, wide bumper bars, etc., and the low stance. We were always going to fit Jeep JK diffs, so we could upgrade the tyre size, which we have done. So the vehicle's equipped with G2 housings, complete diffs out of a JK, 488s, ARB lockers, 35 spline front and rear axles. It's got all the gear in there, so obviously a lot stronger than a standard Hilux Senna's. So it's also got, like I say, the 488. We've got 4.3 in the transfer case. Yeah, it runs an Atlas. It's got a little 3RZ 2.7 litre 4-cylinder in it, 5-speed transmission. Yeah, it's got all the gear. We've put it's got chromoly drive shafts in it. Everything's sort of tucked up. We've made a belly pan, so it's fairly tucked up. The Atlas we've cut into the floor and clocked it up so we can get as much ground clearance under the centre. Runs a high pinion in the front, unlike the standard Toyota. So that caused a lot of dramas to try and get the car so low with a high pinion centre. So we had to play around a lot with the engine placement, with the sump, fabricate up a sump and stuff for the engine, and then it came in, believe it or not, because we tucked the Atlas up so high. We come into a lot of problems with the front drive shaft being so short. So it runs a cardan joint in the front on the transfer case end, which I modified highly to try and get a lot more angle out of it. I think we got it up to nearly 38 degrees, 40 degrees. Two-piece rear shaft standard in the rear, but like I say, chromoly rear end on it. Hopefully the substantial strength for the rocks. At the front, we've made a 3-piece front bumper bar. It started life as just a bit of 150 by 50 box. It's been cut into 4 pieces and splayed to give it a bit of a radius to follow the front. The whole idea, we wanted to get an approach angle, so the winch is mounted in the back of the vehicle. We transferred a lot of stuff to the rear of the vehicle to try and get weight to get some drive in the vehicle, because we knew the back of the car was going to be the weak point with the weight being so light. So fuel tanks relocated to the right to the back, spare tyres up the back, and the winch and everything up the batteries up the back.
Through a filter,
Yeah.
into here. This here will go into your surge tank. This here is a low pressure filter. It's only pump. It's only 3 to 4 psi. It fills the tank up. Whatever doesn't get used comes out of here and back to the fuel tank.
Yeah.
And then this here supplies this here, so this gets filled up via this pump, and then it comes out of here through your Bosch fuel pump, and then that supplies the engine, and then this is returned back from the engine, and then that fills this up and then comes back into the tank. So this here stays full all the time.
The little ears on the side here, they just unbolt. They've got a couple of bolts and a dowel in the side to secure them. They unbolt, the flares come off. Just runs a Jeep TJ front flare, 7-inch, which is just over standard, and trail mod rear flares. TJ ones, we've just chopped them in half so we can fold them up to package them so we can keep them in the car when we take them off. The trail mods obviously fold up. The vehicle's equipped with PSC steering, so it runs just a TC pump. It's a 1500 PSI, 2.8 gallons a minute. It's got the aftermarket alternator on it, the smart battery charger alternator. But what we've done is, obviously with the power steering pump is normally mounted right here, and then to be able to get sufficient oil flow on climbs when you need your steering, you obviously have to mount your reservoir up higher than the power steering pump because it's gravity fed into the pump. So what I've done is relocated the alternator to the top and the power steering pump to the bottom, so it's gravity fed down below. So we shouldn't lose any oil on climbs or anything like that. Like I say, just a stock little engine. Yeah, other than that, it's pretty basic. Runs a Toyota Land Cruiser 80 series power steerbox. We've grafted in, which I don't really think many people put a 80 series. Most people do the IFS box because it's forward throw. So I've mounted the box further back, which gave us a few dramas, but we modified the shock hoops and stuff like that so we could get it in. It runs a PSC ram. It's just a 6.5-inch stroke, 2-inch bore PSC ram, which is like JK. All the steering links are 4130 chromoly solid bar, 38mm lowers, 34mm link up the top. Runs Dodge Ram tie rod ends and Toyota Land Cruiser 80 series tie rods off the box and down to the tie rod. The vehicle's it's got U-bolt flip in it, which we've had to play around with a little bit to be able to accommodate that. So it's got just a set of U-bolts which were just made locally here in Sydney. Standard U-bolts in the rear off a Toyota. The legalities for you obviously can't put a extended shackles in vehicles. It's highly, it's frowned upon, it's illegal. To be able to get a smooth ride and hopefully get some articulation, we've gone with a N70 front leaf spring pack and an N80 rear leaf spring pack, which is 1400 long with a 700 centre pin, so it's a center spring. But we run a slide box, which I've manufactured. It runs a Dremel Bush, which is a big slide, oil impregnated. Won't need any lubrication. It allows for a nice linear smooth effect. We've made some sliders for the vehicle. The sliders are just 50-50 box, 4mm wall, tied onto the chassis with 12 10mm bolts, 16mm plates welded to the side of the frame. Obviously no side intrusion airbags or anything, so that's not a problem. Manufactured a tray for the back, some cutouts on the top for articulation to try and keep the car as low as we can, get the wheels to go up. Like these little side panels here just bolt off when the flares come off. Dual batteries mounted in the back, ARB air compressors mounted inside this box. The shocks are mounted right up here. This little panel here comes out and all your fuel systems under here. So fuel filters, runs dual fuel pumps. Everything's all situated under there. So it's easy accessible if we have a fuel issue. Doesn't look like much. Looks fairly standard, but there was the hours that have gone into the vehicle because of everything we've had to modify. It's they all add up and everything takes time. So runs a BF Goodrich, a KM3 37-inch tall tyre, and just a Dirty Life 17 by I think it's 17 by 8.5. I think they are. Rim, they're non-bead locks. It looks just imitation simulated bead locks. They're obviously can't ADR anything with bead locks. Yeah, the engineer was on board from day one, and that was the only reason, because we outlaid so much money to buy the G2 diffs. That was the only reason that he continued on with us. He had a bit of a rapport with Stefan. They were friends, and he stayed with us to the end and helped us out.
A lot of input there, huh? You run everything past him.
Every material thickness, bolt diameters, everything that he wants to know and wanted to us to use. We took the vehicle down to Canberra where it was fully loaded. I think we put 800 kilos on the back. With him in it and the fuel and all the spare tyre and everything, it equates to probably a tonne anyway. And then it done all the swerve tests and everything. I think it done the swerve test, brake test, everything at about 98 kilometres an hour, which it handled really well, done everything it meant to. And then another stringent test that we had to pass, which I'd never done before, called a brake plate test with some plates in the ground. It's done inside of a workshop where they drive the vehicle and put the foot on the brake, and then it has to meet all these parameters to be able to pass for inertia and brake fade, front to rear bias, everything, which regrettably the vehicle didn't pass first off. So we had to change a lot of things to be able to get it to pass. Like I say, it actually runs a dual diaphragm Toyota Land Cruiser brake booster and a 1-inch master cylinder, non-ABS, 80 series master cylinder with 330mm Jeep JK front rotors.
We should say that the place test really is not for old cars, you know?
I don't think there'd be too many cars out there. Like, definitely a standard Hilux like this would not pass the brake test, like the plate test, the vehicle plate test. It's the guidelines that the RMS put in place for these vehicles, the stringent guidelines that they have to abide by. So the plate test is done with, they actually disconnect the brake booster. The vehicle has to stop with certain amount of brake pressure, pedal pressure, and enough efficiency on the brakes to be able to stop with the booster disconnected. Then they do it with opening up each circuit. So they open up the front bleeder nipples, and then the vehicle has to stop, and it has parameters that it has to meet. It has to apply so much force to the wheels as well as pedal pressure, and then they do the same for the rear, and they do it on all 4 wheels, and then it calculates actually pedal pressure, and it also actually calculates the force on each wheel. The handbrake, they test all the handbrake and everything. So like I say, it was there. It was probably a 3-hour process to pass the plate test. We didn't have to adjust anything or change anything. The vehicle runs an adjustable proportionary valve to the rear, which I preset prior to going down to Canberra, and it locked front and rears up really well. So it handled really well. I was quite surprised with how good it drove, obviously because it's so low and it's so wide. And it only weighs, I think the vehicle comes in at around about just over 1,700 kilos, so it's not super heavy, obviously. So inside's fairly stock. Obviously the Atlas, like I say, 4.3 Atlas. I'm a fan of the Atlas. They're pretty much bulletproof. What they do is they give you independent shift to front drive and rear drive, so you can high ranges back, forward in neutral in front wheel, and then you go into low range front, and then you can obviously go low range. You can drive low range front only, and then push that and pull back, and then low range rear only, or both low range front. So you can front dig, you can burn it, you can drive down steep drop-offs and stuff just in front wheel drive, so you're not driving off the rear. It's got a Recaro driver's seat for Stefan, and just a 280 Nissan 280SX passenger seat, which were fitted in the vehicle when Stefan bought it. Momo steering wheel, which was fitted. The motor was fitted to the vehicle, and the 5-speed, the late model transmission.
Yeah. You did a bit of rewiring for the whole engine and so on.
Yeah, huh? Yeah. Everything. We just tidied everything up and went through everything, got rid of everything that didn't need to be there. The wiring was a disaster on the car. So yeah, we just tidied it up and removed everything that didn't need to be there. We've got Raptor coat on the back of the tray. Hopefully that holds up.
Yeah, the whole tray is custom done by you and...
Yeah, myself and my son done the tray. Yeah. A young bloke loves the sheet metal, so we just we have bead rollers and swages and stuff, and pan brake and folder, and so yeah, just put some swage work in there and stuff just to strengthen it up, stop it from drumming. My young bloke welded all the tray up. He's Bailey. He done all that and gave me a hand. But you know, there's like 2 weeks work in the tray just to get everything in there and get everything mounted and batteries in and all the stuff. So it's but it works. It's like I say, it's all done. At the back, we've just got obviously the mud flaps have to be 300 mil, no higher than 300 mil off the ground. Like I say, it's got the slider boxes, and then it runs just a standard number plate mount under the back, which we've put on a little bit of a pivot, so you can drop the number plate up. So you're not going to tear it off when Stefan goes goes off road, and then at night the light will shine down. The reverse light will shine down onto the ground instead of just straight out the back. But that just locks in.
Mud flaps obviously removable.
Yeah, they just got an R pin they can be removed. We put a truss over the top of the diff, stop any axle twist and stuff with the Dana 44s. Like I say, it's a G2 housing, G2 diff. They're a lot stronger than the standard stuff. So runs a standard Jeep handbrake, all the Hilux cables and everything. Runs a Rancho shock. I think they're about 15-inch travel, 9-stage adjustable, tough dog springs. Everything's tucked up high. The exhaust is right up high. Everything's, just runs we just made the exhaust system, just a little 2.25-inch system on it.
And you positioned everything, the tank and so on, obviously also to ideally balance the car well?
Yeah, everything's centre mounted. Batteries are located in the centre. Obviously the winch is off centre, which has to be because we can't run the tube for the cable straight up the centre of the car, so it's off centre. So batteries are in the centre, fuel tanks relocated to the centre, spare tyres in the centre, everything should be stable. Obviously you're driving with a driver in the car, so a little bit of weight on the passenger sides obviously equals things out with the winch and stuff. We tried to put as much thought as we could into it. Like, I've been doing this for a little while, so...
How many years?
About 33, 34 years I've been building off-road cars, so... It's a little bit of an interest and learn a little bit along the way.
What was your idea of that slider boxes?
The slide boxes, it gives us a lot more travel in the ratio of the instead of a shackle. So a shackle on a Hilux, the rotation of the shackle is only about 120, 130 mil, but with this slide box we get 250.
If you follow my channel, you know that Joe from JS Auto Electrics is my go-to auto electrician, I think for the past 5 or 6 years now. And he did all the interior and accessory wiring of the Hilux. but I let him explain briefly. Joel, what have you done?
What have I done? I haven't done too much, just a couple little accessories. Your GME.
Yep. Radio, the old one didn't work anymore, huh?
Yep, AM, FM, yeah, that's why your clock and all that didn't work, because it had an issue in it. We've put the road power solid state switch unit.
Yeah.
So that's the switching panel. And the actual
It's down there. Yep.
switch units there, so when you run your accessories, power and earth straight up to that.
Yep.
I'll put that in a minute. Your dash cam.
And then you did the aircon as well, huh?
Yeah, well, I adjust the aircon, yes.
Yeah, and belts.
Yeah, the belt on that.
So good.
Yep, the driving light.
Ah yeah, the Lazer. Beautiful. I'm keen to see how they're gonna be working. Very discreet, huh? Looks very small.
Yes.
Cool. And antenna.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Hold down antenna. Perfect. I also would like to give a shout out to a few companies who generously provided me products for the Hilux. All of that products I selected, I chose and asked them whether they would be interested to participate. None of the companies paid me for this. All of the products you see now I chose because I used them in the past or they fancied my interest and I wanted to try them. Again, if you follow my channel, you know I really like the Lazer light bars, and that's what I have been running for the past, I think, 3 or 4 years. Recently, I have been even more impressed with the new Lazer Linear Elite series. This is a very slimline light bar, which has an incredible output, and to be honest, I rate at the moment as the best slimline light bar on the market. While the Hilux doesn't have much room on the bull bar because it only has a very small front bumper, the Linear Elite 24 is a very small, unobtrusive light bar with a great output, and that's what I chose for the Hilux. I have done dedicated videos about the Linear Elite, so please sure to check that out. For radio, I use the GME XRS 390C. That is an IP67 waterproof radio. To be honest, I don't think I will ever need it in the Hilux, or at least I hope so, because if my radio in the Hilux touches water, I'm in big trouble. But it is a very heavy duty commercial radio, and if you see how the car gets bumped around, it certainly won't harm for a play truck. If you know my channel, you know that I use the XRS 370 series in the Land Cruiser, and I really like it. I never had an issue with it. It's in there now for 4 or 5 years. So testing the waterproofed and vibration proofed mil-spec XRS 390, yeah, why not? Feature wise, it is pretty similar to the XRS 370. If you're interested in that, please watch my dedicated XRS 370 video. Yeah, my winch. Garth went with a rear mounted winch option, and while I'm having a worn winch actually sitting in the garage, I came across the Sherpa winches quite some time ago and was always curious how they would perform. So I thought for this build it would be interesting to test a new winch. I contacted Sherpa. Sherpa generously equipped me with their Sherpa called LB 12,000 winch. This robust unit boasts a pulling strength of 12,000 lbs and is powered by a 6.6 horsepower motor. It features a 3-stage planetary gear system and is fitted with a genuine Albright solenoid, which should ensure reliability and efficiency in demanding situations. Which is now mounted behind the cabin and then runs via a tube forward. So far, I already have used the winch in anchor twice, once to winch myself and once to do a pretty long winch for one of my driving buddies, and so far no issues. However, that's only a few uses, and I will keep you posted how that winch goes over the next few years. For this Hilux build, I knew I wanted to have a high output alternator to charge the 2 lithium batteries and also support winching. Because standard alternators, especially of the older Hiluxes, are not really that powerful. Given that I already had an M2K high output alternator for several years in the Land Cruiser and I was very satisfied with it, I contacted M2K again and they were happy to provide me another high output alternator. We didn't find an exact model for my engine, but we got one close enough, and then Garth made up some custom bracketry, and that M2K alternator is now in place and works very well. As time goes by and with my knees not as resilient as they used to be, handling the heavy-duty clutch became quite a challenge. It was tough on my right knee. To address these, Garth fitted a clutch booster, which has been a game changer. It noticeably lessens the pressure needed to operate the clutch while still retaining that essential responsive feel. After several outings with the Hilux, I'm getting a solid feel for its capabilities. Full credit to Garth for his expertise. The Hilux, with its broad stance, low center of gravity thanks to minimal lift, maintains exceptional balance and stability under various conditions. The slide boxes offer just the right amount of suspension travel. As I've mentioned previously, excessive travel can sometimes backfire, causing the rear axle to navigate under rather than over obstacles. This was a challenge I faced in Tiny, where extreme suspension travel led to reduced stability and a precarious tipping point. However, in the Hilux, these issues are noticeably absent, providing a reassuring and steady drive. Another great benefit is that everything is over-engineered for such a lightweight vehicle. From the Atlas transfer case, the G2 axle housings with the chromoly axles, the hydro-assisted steering, as well as a braking system designed for a much heavier Jeep JK. The car is built according to my philosophy. I rather grossly over-engineer than having breakages on the tracks. Observing the meticulous attention to detail Garth has applied to every element of the Lux, I confidently say it might just be the most distinct road-legal Hilux on 37s. Considering the trend where most engineers have moved away from engineering four-wheel drives, especially in New South Wales, it is unlikely we see another Lux quite like this one. I've invested a substantial amount of money and effort, along with Garth's invaluable expertise in building this four-wheel drive. From the outset, we involved an engineer, ensuring every step of the process met the strict Australian design rules. We adhere to all requirements and regulations, conducting and passing all necessary tests. I always carry the complete engineering papers and brake test results in the Lux. And since the engineering, there have been no further modification to the car. Even when inspected by the Highway Patrol, everything was found to be in order, proving that a compliant build and engineering certificate significantly lowers the risk of issues. With our commitment to full compliance, I'm prepared to defend any unjust defect in court if needed. However, I hope that will never be needed. You may have noticed the Hilux sporting green license plate with conditional registration on them. This is because it's registered in New South Wales under the Classic Vehicle Scheme. This scheme is ideal for modified vehicles that are over 30 years old, offering the benefit of reduced registration fees and compulsory third-party insurance. However, there are a few restrictions. One key requirement is being a member of a registered four-wheel drive club. As luck would have it, I'm founding member of the Responsible Technical Driving four-wheel drive club in New South Wales, and several of our members have vehicles under this scheme. It's a great way to significantly cut down on the annual cost. Yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this build video as much as I enjoyed driving the Hilux. As always, I have a small self-funded channel and it is quite hard to get the views and numbers up. If you could share, like, subscribe and leave me a comment in the comment section, it really would help the YouTube algorithm and push the video a bit forward. Also, if you can afford it, maybe consider to head over to Patreon and buy me a coffee, and with the equivalent of a cup of coffee or two per month, you can really help me creating these videos for you. Thank you very much and I hope to see you along the tracks.